be a discussion and you get all your information.
Okay, all right, thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Is there any more?
Yeah, Otis.
Yes.
I guess I'll be able to vote. Resolution 33 and 15, as well as ordinance 34, 15. I find it rather reprehensive that you have to put a resolution together to have people that drive in vehicles, and apparently something is not right here, that you have people driving vehicles that doesn't have a license to drive them. So you have to put this kind of ordinance in place. And two, I would like to, if you can articulate on 34, 15, an ordinance allowing that 2016 ordination of tax budget information, I don't have my glasses on, be provided to the county budget commission so that the city can be eligible for a waiver of Ohio Revised Code 5705.28 requirement. What is the waiver? Can you tell me what waiver are you asking for? Because I'm not totally cognizant of the 5705.28. What you're asking the county to waive in this budget provided for this county budget commission. So can someone elucidate on that for me, please?
As soon as the discussion comes up, we will make sure that all the answers are for these Is that all that's speaking? Okay. Reports and announcement of the mayor.
Wheeler,
Pardon?
reports and announcements of the mayor.
At this time, there are none.
There's no old business. Reports of council committee. Yes.
Yes, personal appointment met about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we discussed the staffing. If you weren't there, the human resource lady has left. She's gone. They fired a police officer. I think his name was Cargile. So our numbers are going down. That was basically, there were some other things, but I don't remember all of it. But that's where the personal appointment committee is at this point. Madam Chairman, that concludes personal appointment.
Okay. Councilman Baker.
Madam Chair, the last time we met, we discussed a few items. I did direct the clerk of council to pull all necessary items out of my committee so that we can handle them prior to summer session. I will be on extended vacation so that I can handle some business with who I plan on marrying. So I will be away from the state of Ohio.
You say marrying?
Yes. So I'll be away from the state of Ohio. So I will set the summer meeting before I go, and we'll handle all necessary items, and hopefully the administration can send out what is an immediate concern so it can pass through committee and hopefully hit a special or something before I take my leave. I also had a ward meeting on yesterday. Thank you to the residents that attended. Those residents expressed a variety of concerns with the city, including the ARCO property, the Noble situation that's going on. We want to, as a ward, take that very seriously, and I believe as a council, we've expressed our various concerns about the health conditions there, and I stand behind the residents with this because the residents, again, as I always state, are my bosses. So I'll stand with them on making sure that we hold them to accountability. No resident should have to stand within their own property and feel that, in some type of form of captivity, and or having to have their windows shut in the rear of their house, the side of their house due to harmful air debris or smells and the sort. This upcoming summer, at the latter part of the summer, I want to convene a ward cleanup, and possibly before I make my exit, I was planning it, but it seems that the residents have a lot planned themselves. So some people, I'm trying to bounce around from people being out of town and things like that. So I hope to do at least 2 this summer, hopefully before I leave, and then when I return. All right, I'm sure that concludes my report. And also,
Thank you. We will have to come back to the other council if they return to the room and the meeting. I want to apologize for all the disturbances that just took place. I think basically everything can be resolved in an order that is professional and in good behavior. So I want to apologize to the residents for misbehavior, if there is any misbehavior or misunderstanding, so that we can continue to run meetings appropriately and recognize people that we give proclamations and that we have presentations for. Again, I apologize. I don't have a report at this time. I will do mine at the end of the meeting so that everybody can get what is necessary. Mr. Martin, are you asking for recognition?
I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at the agenda for this evening. And if Mr. Wheeler and Mr. King doesn't come, both of these are emergencies, so we can't pass them.
Then we'll have to send somebody out to ask them
To come in? Okay.
She's going out.
All right.
Okay, in the meantime, we will move on down to the proclamation.
Madam Chair, I have a proclamation to honor Mr. Twan Billings. In the proclamation, if I may read it at this point, and
Mr.
have
Billings?
Mr. Billings step
Would
up.
you come up forward to the front row here until we, is there someone else with you? Proceed,
All right, it says, whereas on April 12, 2015, at 2:35 p.m., Twan Billings was in the right place at the right time, and he made the right decision to try to help the victims of a tragic automobile accident on Terrace Road. Unbeknownst to anyone at the time, the driver of the vehicle was one of the City of East Cleveland's own police officers. Whereas Council wishes to acknowledge Twan Billings' selfless action, and that it sets an example of courage, passion, and decisiveness that all residents should emulate. And whereas Council truly appreciates Twan Billings stepping out on a limb to help others, and whereas Twan Billings is highly active within the greater Cleveland area and always including, but not limited to, giving back to the community, but not only of giving of himself, but disseminating value, teaching information to residents. It also reads some other things, but I wanted to acknowledge you at this time, and I know the mayor's office said that they would say a few things about you, and we just stand in agreement. Thank you for your sacrifice that day. We really appreciate it. Had it been anybody, I think you would have put yourself in harm's way. So we appreciate you, and just wanted to acknowledge you on behalf of the city.
Yeah, I wanted to, before Councilman Mansell Baker, I just wanted to say Twan Billings has had an interesting life. He's had his struggles, but he's persevered, he's been resilient. I remember when we got together to get him to help with at the clinic at Huron, Dr. Caius, and he's been helping us. He never gave up. This needs to be said about him. He never gave up. He persevered, and he's a special individual. I was up there with Mansell, and that tragic accident was horrible. Thank you for stepping up, and thank you for being who you are, sir. Thank you. All right? Okay.
I think that this is totally in order. But I also want to say, it didn't have to be at that particular moment. You have been out there in the streets with the kids all along, and it has been so many things that has happened that you've been in the middle of, and you told me about it, how you struggled with the kids and wanted everybody to come together and be as one with the youth here. And I, myself, is very proud a young man like yourself pulling together with the youth, because it's not easy in those streets with the youth. And sometimes you don't get the respect that you should get, but you keep going. And that's something that I applaud you for. And you well deserve this and more. And I wish it was more that we could give you. But right now, this is a token of our appreciation and our ability to have someone like you to come to the rescue when something happens. Thank you. All right. You got it.
Thanks.
I definitely want to say thank you to the mayor's office, the full city council. If it wasn't for any one of you guys, as well as the school district, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't probably have been in East Cleveland. I definitely want to thank you as an individual as well, Mr. Mayor, all council. I mean, you know, just like she said, if it wasn't really for you guys, I mean, it really, I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of things that, you know, I was set out to do. And, you know, Councilman, thank you for, you know, being there as well. You know, each and every one of y'all serve as a role model to me, you know, and Council President, I mean, just like you said, I mean, you know, the help business is the hurt business sometimes, but then at the same time, you know, when you receive things like that and you being recognized by the community and things like that, it is empowering, and it means a lot. You know, sometimes, you know, you need to be built up, you know, because you lose fuel of going out there, you know, being out there and, you know, putting your life out there, you know, serving and, you know, helping people. But again, with the support that I have had with the city of East Cleveland as a whole, I have never had no problems here as far as helping anyone. And again, I just thank you, and I thank you, and I thank you over and over again. And I believe that any child that I have helped, anybody that I have helped, one of the things that sticks with me is when I talked to Officer Joyner's sister, and she stated that if it wasn't for what the Officer Malone, Officer Carosha, Officer Marshall, and Officer Dunlap had done, that they would be bearing ashes. So I definitely want to also pay respects to those guys too, because this wasn't just an individual thing, it was a team effort, and that's how we all got that done.
Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
All right, moving right along, we have a letter of condolence to the Dorothy Parker family. Dorothy Parker was not only a long-term resident, she was a precinct committee person. And I talked to Dorothy Parker quite often, and she was very enthusiastic about what was going to happen to her city and the residents. Myself and Nathaniel Martin and Mansell all attended the memorial and the afterward.
after at Dorothy Parker's house. East Cleveland City Council would like to take the time to extend our condolences to your family concerning the recent loss of your loved one, Dorothy Lee Parker, loving wife of James Parker, deceased, mother of James Athonia, David, Robert, Steve, Deborah, Doris, Dottie, and Shirley, loving grandmother and great-grandmother. The loss of Dorothy is one that is felt not just within your immediate family, but also throughout all of East Cleveland. And she was a woman with a zest for life and a passion for loving and supporting her family friends. Dorothy gave of herself whatever she had to those that needed it most. She was a true blessing, a joy, a loving person to family and friends. The legacy she leaves behind speaks for itself. Her physical presence here on earth will be greatly missed by family, friends, and loved ones. However, her memory will continue to live on in the hearts and minds of your family and the East Cleveland community. We encourage you to remember that God's grace is sufficient to see you safely through these difficult times. He knows the depth of your loss, and His strength and great love is freely given to each of you for comfort and support. His promise to all of His children is that He will never leave you, nor will He forsake you. Our prayers are with you, your family, with love and sympathy. She had a beautiful family, and they talked about their mother and how much their mother loved the city of East Cleveland. And Dorothy used to call me when she would go to a meeting and tell me that she didn't understand what was happening. So, Council Lady, would you please explain to me what that meant? And I would explain, and by the way, she would call me at 6:45. Because I had said I answered my phone early in the morning. So I appreciate Dorothy, and I am really prayerful about her passing. And she was really a saint, and she was a God sent, and she believed in Jesus Christ. Thank you, so we can move on. Is there anything else?
I just want to add that the church, Unity Baptist Church, was packed with people, black and white. And they talked about her Christian spirit, they talked about her Bible study, they talked about all the motivational, inspiring things that she did. Miss Stanberry, Pecola Stanberry, Pecola Ming spoke very eloquently about Miss Parker. So we're gonna miss Miss Parker. I can say that she made phone calls for us. She was involved in a Democratic organization, and she brought wisdom and knowledge. So God be with the family. Thank you.
Councilman
I
Baker?
just wanted to say, she will be truly missed. Councilman Martin and I attended the service. It was a beautiful service. It just grieves my heart to not look, to look out in the audience and not see her. We're truly going to miss such a warm-spirited person. I remember coming to the mic most recently, asking the council and everybody that governs the city to get along and make the business for the city work for us. I know she will truly be missed by everybody that knew.
Thank
And
you.
also a point of order.
Yes.
With the mayor being present, will we go back to the reports and announcements if he so chooses?
Yes. We'll recognize the.
Since we're not far in the
There are two items that we need to go back to. Not only is it the mayor, but the two councilmen that were not present and didn't give their committee report. Mr. Mayor, would you like to give us your report, please?
For the sake of brevity of the meeting, my family has a couple ill members, including my wife, so I'm a single parent right now.
Okay.
So I need to leave early, and for the sake of brevity, I just won't wait. I won't spend the time on the mayor's report.
I appreciate that. Mr. Councilman King, you have a report?
Thank you, Council President. I actually don't have a committee report, but Councilman Wheeler and I have like maybe a joint report outside of the committee in regards to Noble Road.
Okay, that's the same, if you're gonna give a report, you're gonna give a report, and that's where you, were, the council was asked to, take a walk through the Noble Road. And I think both of you, talked to me the other day, so which one of you all wanna give a joint report? Or what is it?
I yield to Councilman King.
Councilman King, you may proceed with the report on the Noble Road, which was a very hot topic of controversy and what was happening up there on Noble Road.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Wheeler and I went and visited Noble Road Monday. And as you can imagine, many of you have been here the last month or so. There's been a lot of discussion in regards to Noble Road. There's been a lot of misinformation that's been put out, and it's kind of odd how misinformation gets put out even when information is being taped, and then it still gets misrepresented. So that everyone here knows, Noble Road is a separate company from Eddy Road. They're two separate companies, and they both do similar or the same transfer stations. They do C&D. C&D is construction and demolition. There's no food at these facilities. So there are no rodents. We went over there and there was complaints here about a smell or fumes or dust coming from the site. While we were there, a truck did load and leave. There were no fumes, no pollutants in the air. The ground was thoroughly wet. Cars, which are at the houses behind the dump, are all clean. There was no dust on the cars. There was no smell. In fact, Cuyahoga County issued them a no air pollutant check. So it passed all of EPA regulations and the city and the county regulations. And as you remember, Andy from the county was here a few weeks ago, and he said the same thing. So this place is clean. He's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He's actually going to put up a 25-foot fence, 24-foot fence with a tarp so that they can't see behind it.
It's called a silt fence.
Silt fence. He's going to put a silt fence so that you won't be able to see back there. Right now, if you can imagine.
How you spell silk? How you spell it? Is it S-I-L-K or S-I-L-T? How you spell it?
S-I-L-T.
S-I-L-T. So those are some of the highlights of that. I just wanted you to be aware that he is following all of the guidelines per what he does, a C&D transfer station. And he's passed all of the tests, EPA, county, and the city of Cleveland, which governs the air. So Wheeler, is there anything? Councilman Wheeler?
The tail end of that. Also, there's no, he has 15 employees. Of the 15 employees, 13 are student residents.
Yes.
And he pays a payroll tax yearly of $102,000 inside of the fence. So that's well needed and received in East Cleveland.
Okay, I talked to both councilors yesterday. They gave me a report. I didn't think it was necessary for me to go and do a walkthrough when the vice president and the councilor was going to do this. They came back and gave me a full report. I can't find anything else that is necessary to do. I talked to the law director. She agrees. If there's anything that we're missing, Madam Law Director, please tell us, do they have all the legal things, permits that are taken up? All, everything is done. And also there was some mention of the, that it didn't belong, that the property didn't belong to that individual, that it was sold to someone else. Can you clear that up? Is that the individuals, because I know the mayor said that wasn't true, and I asked someone else, and they verified that it wasn't true, that that property was still in his possession. All right, so there's a clarity to all of this, and all we can do is just examine and walk through and all of that. So, moving right along, we'll go right along, and my clerk has been sick all day and was sick last night, so she had to leave. She came in today to be with our new addition, Ms. Tricia Parker, and Ms. Parker will be taking the rest of the information tonight. Okay, Madam Clerk, where are we now? Okay.
Madam Chairman, can I just bring this up since before you go to legislation? We did Twine Buildings and we did Dorothy Lee Parker. I just wanted to say that under this, but we don't have a resolution that I just found out yesterday. Ernest Smith, Oppressed People Nation's grandmother died. So I wanted for the public to know that. So I will know the next few days of services. Okay? Thank you.
Well noted, and I think we will be looking forward to getting that information as well as we always do.
And one last one, since it just crossed my mind too. Tony Logan, who stays on Graham. Tony Logan, her father died, and she had been taking care of him for a couple of months. She called me last night, and she's on Graham. Tony Logan. Okay, thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk. No, we are reading the reading of the legislation.
Resolution number 33-15, a resolution requiring all non-union employees who drive city vehicles to have a valid driver's license or commercial driver's license and declaring an emergency for the public safety.
This is sponsored by who? Requested by who? Is sponsored by council as a whole.
It's requested by Council President Barbara Thomas. What's your pleasure?
I will sponsor resolution number 3315 and move for its adoption.
I second that motion.
Move to second. Any discussion?
Yes. This resolution is put in place because we've had a lot of controversy over individuals not having licensure or licensure being suspended. A time ago, I asked did every one of our employees have licensure and were they up to date? I was told that yes, they did. And in essence, we did not have any. Oh, okay. I was told that I tried to find any legislation to deal with rules and regulations or legislation that addressed the licensure of all non-bargaining employees. Well, when you're talking about bargaining employees, they fall up under their contract, and if you have are bargaining, they address that in the bargaining. As far as I was told, there was no information addressing licensure for non-bargaining. So I called and asked the law director would she in fact put together something, because we didn't have anything. And we came up with the licensure, and it's tight. Is there anyone else that would like to?
Councilman Baker.
I would like to defer, do we have the jurisdiction of this particular legislation to authorize some type of protocol over the employees? I really strongly want to, I don't think we're in good parameters here.
I put together what the council sent to me, and really, it's within the prerogative of the administration, but I put together what was the legislative request. And but the administration can choose to, it's a resolution, it's not an ordinance. So the administration can defer or not to the legislation.
And it's from my understanding that the acting Human Resources Director, Mr. Mayor, did a check or some sort of all employees. Is that correct?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do an annual check of licenses, and we're moving that to every 6 months.
Okay.
So we're checking everybody's license every 6 months. And we did, as you know, find a couple of people who had suspended licenses. Those people were immediately stopped from driving city vehicles. Of the two that were found to have suspended licenses, one of them has been reinstated, so there's one person outstanding. That person has agreed that he is unable to drive city vehicles, and that he is doing work of a similar sort to what other service workers are doing, minus the driving.
Any further discussion?
Thank you. I was just needing some, I had some reservations about it, and I thank the mayor for clearing that up. But I just wanted to know where was I know it's a resolution and not an ordinance, but, just think that that's within their purview.
Councilman Martin.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think the 6-month thing is definitely a step in the right direction. However, as you know, over the last months, there was articles in the paper about this boy being killed off Hayden there. And then they did an investigation and found out that his license was suspended. So it's impossible to keep up with all of that. So we need to stay on top of that. We are being sued. So they go through the legal process and we see what happens. But we are being sued, and from my common sense, I think we'll lose that one. Mainly on the fact that you're not supposed to be on the road with a suspended license. So we need to tighten that up, and I'm glad that the mayor made a step in the right direction to turn it once a year, every 6 months. I would even do it more than that, but we'll live with that. Okay. All right.
I'm really concerned that we have a concern, because what you're saying is when I did present this to the law director, there was no correction or any thing that said to us that, well, we really don't need this because we have this in place. You don't have anything in place. If you had something in place, we would not be looking at people with suspended license and people that didn't have license, or whatever the case may be. If we're talking about health and safety and this being an emergency for health and safety, I think that being reactive is not something that we really want to do. What we want to do is to be proactive. When we purchased the 3 snow, is it 2 snow plows?
Mm-hmm,
2 snow plows. And the first time on the road, the blade of the snow plow was torn up and had to be replaced. At that point in time, this president started to ask him, do they have licensure? Have they been trained? Apparently, They weren't trained. They had to go back and be trained on how to drive, to man this sort of vehicle. Then you find out that there are people that would like suspended license. Then you find out something else about the licensure is going on. I think that we're being too lax, and 6 months is all right, but no one has shown me any rules and regulations that talks about licensure. And when I talked to the personnel director before she left, she was the first one I talked to. Then I talked to the service department. Then I talked to our law director. And they assured me that everyone had current driver license. And that was incorrect. So if you did have something in place, or you did due diligence today, but what is it, 300? It's less than 300 non-bargaining here. So there is, it's not such a big issue that you have to do this, but I was talking to the person that handles under the personnel. And I think if we're talking about health and safety and you're pushing emergency, then we should be proactive. Yes, sir.
No,
I didn't know. I'm sorry, Mr. King.
King, Councilman King.
Thank you, Council Vice President. While we're talking about being proactive, excuse me, I have a commercial driver's license. So the employer has you register your insurance with them. When your insurance company changes your premium or drops you, they notify the employer. Now, I don't know if that's something that we can do here as a city, but the insurance companies drop these people before they lost their driver's license, or they change their premiums as their points go up.
So what's your point?
My point is, since we're talking proactive, maybe that's something that we can look into.
We need to do into that.
We need to look into, tying it in to their automobile insurance, and they'll notify us if they have 12 points or if they lost their license. They'll tell us.
Well, and that's great, but you're absolutely right, but every employer that I have talked to that drives a vehicle for that company wants to make sure that their license are up to par, because not only can the city or that organization be sued, but the individual can be sued. Now, if something happens while that individual is out there with suspended license and driving the city vehicle, and you